Okay, today I wanted to talk about the problem of Boruto. And the thing with the problem of Boruto is, well, from the onset, I haven't actually seen it just yet. Um, I will get around to it someday. I'm not super interested. I'll probably rewatch Naruto and then jump into it at some point, but I haven't seen Boruto just yet. But what I wanted to do is it doesn't seem to have lived up to the popularity or legacy of its predecessor. And so, more or less, what I wanted to do was to talk about the problems, the problems you would have writing a sequel. Basically, kind of either after the legacy of Boruto and then writing a new story based off. And then just kind of the onset of the pitfalls and the problems. Because there's a general trend in most stories where a lot of really good movies that are good single movies have a sequel and they suck. And that is something that's pretty common. Most people are fairly familiar with it. And I think Boruto, unfortunately, falls into the same issue. Again, I haven't seen it, but from what I understand, it seems to be pretty okay. Which the main original Naruto is still quite good. Basically, it's still well viewed. Basically, well viewed and well loved, more or less, for this. So the question is why, and what are the problems that you're going to have with sequels. So basically, in short, there you're going to have, I've kind of narrowed it down to three issues. A lot of these apply to all sequels in general, but for Naruto and Boruto specifically, these are the ones that they're going to encounter and the problems that they're going to have. So number one, the kind of the main pull of Naruto is the whole misfit, basically, aspect of it. Naruto is a misfit. He is a orphan, and everyone hates him. So not only is he an orphan, but everyone hates him. And this kind of has the Harry Potter effect. It kind of has the Huckleberry Finn effect, basically, where you take an orphan that nobody seems to like, seemingly, and that gives them a lot of street cred with the audience. Basically, the audience wants to go in there and kind of make up for the fact that they're getting so much hatred. They have to deal with all this crap, basically. So it causes the audience to love them, basically, or to like them. And initially, you just need them to like them a little bit to get over the initial hump of your story. Initial hump and get them engaged in the story. Because again, if they drop at the page 5, you don't have time to get them to like your characters. So you kind of need to pull them in. And basically with this, kind of as a counter to this, because this is in the misfit in Naruto, and the problem now is in Boruto, he can't be a misfit. He's basically the son of a hero who's saved the world. We also know that given Naruto's character, he can't hate his son, because that would go against Naruto's character. And essentially what you do is you'd kind of ruin Naruto if Naruto and Boruto was a terrible father. Basically, you would ruin his character. So basically what you have is you're taking, instead of starting with a misfit kit, you're going to start off with a son who is the Hokage. So he is rich, popular, whether he wants it or not. He's going to be rich, he's popular, he's going to have loving parents. And basically all of this is the complete opposite for Naruto. And this is the reason why it works with Naruto, is because you have this kind of uphill battle. Basically, though, from the onset, Boruto is more or less perfect, basically, seemingly. Again, I do need to be careful because I haven't fully seen it. All I know is that it's, I wanted to kind of do one before just to talk about, if you were going to do a sequel, what are the pitfalls you need to worry about? I'll probably do a read through and kind of figure out where exactly I got wrong and what I got wrong, because it is possible that maybe Naruto is like Lee and he can't use ninjutsu at all. And that would immediately make all of this, kind of make his life a lot more harder. In which case, then we would be a lot more sympathetic. We would, come to love them basically because they're dealing with all this hardship, and it's not their fault. That's the thing. It's not his fault he can't use ninjutsu or something like that, but he's still trying to work hard. So that is an option that they can do. But basically, this is kind of the misfit aspect that they have to overcome, and it would be tricky. It'd be tricky. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do it or what they're going to do for it, but this is something that they're going to have to answer, because this is kind of what Naruto does really, 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 really well with it. I mean, you can see it with Naruto. You can see it with Gaara, basically, who follows the same character art. You've got Lee, who follows the same character art. You have I'm trying to think. There's got to be. I know there's some others. Kakashi kind of follows that. Kakashi, I don't know how to spell his name. Kakashi kind of follows that. You've got Guy follows that, basically to a T. You have usually a whole bunch of characters of misfits, and then the villains that they fight. I mean, they fight against Zimbachi, or was the Butcher, the giant sword guy, and his androgynous sidekick, and the androgynous sidekick, basically, can't remember what the androgynous sidekick's hair is like, but it's kind of like this. Who uses the little needles? There you go. But yeah, the androgynous sidekick is basically mistreated and abused and run out from the village. So then he wants to team up with the sword guy, big sword guy. Again, the name is completely escaping me. Again, misfits. This is kind of the key that makes Naruto work really well, just because this misfit aspect is really powerful, and he uses it really well. Like Lee's story and Guy's story is still some of my favorites, even though Lee gets gypped. Rock Lee gets completely gypped on all of his fights, and I think that was an absolute crime to do that to him. He should have given him at least one fight where he just trounces the guy. It should have been the Drunken Master fight. He trounces the guy and then moves on, and nobody actually knows it happens, and the other guy doesn't want to admit it's happening. But he couldn't do that for whatever reason. Either way, so that's kind of option one. Option two, the problem two, is this is a fight story. This is a fight story. And what I mean by that is anytime you have conflict, how is the conflict resolved? Basically, because this is kind of this is how you measure the main characters. So in that that show Suits, the conflict is measured in legal fights and manipulation and all that like that. In House, MD, it's in medical knowledge. Okay, basically this is how we're measuring the characters. If we were going to go with, Ace Attorney, again, it's this. If it's Sherlock Holmes, it's detectiving. All of this, and this is how we measure the characters in the story. So Watson is inferior to Holmes in cases of detecting. And because that's what the story is about. That's what we care about, is detecting. Who is the better lawyer? Somebody maybe a really good cook in Suits, but nobody really cares because the show's not about cooking. In cooking shows, nobody cares how good you are about a lawyer. Basically, you're setting up what the audience is going to care about. So what we've got here is we got a fight story. And that's how this conflict is resolved. And kind of the problem is that basically this is the Dragon Ball Z problem, where you are the strongest person in your village, or strongest person in your house. It's him versus Krillin. And we got strongest person in the village. And then we've got strongest person in the town. And then we've got strongest person in the city. And then we've got strongest person in the country. Try and spell that. All right. And then we've got, let me use my other end. All right, strongest person in the plant. And then, of course, this is kind of where we're getting into the Frieza arc, where basically now we've got to have this, and we've got this, and we've got strongest person in the solar system. And then over here, of course, we've got, and this is where Dragon Ball Z really started to run into problems right here. And, this is their just like, what do we do after this? And that's why then they have the solar system of solar systems. And then you fight gods, basically. Super Saiyan God, you fight gods. And it starts to get kind of silly. Again, we love it. And we love everything about it. However, that's the reality of it. So the problem is that Naruto ended here, more or less. Oops. Him and Sasuke fight a god. They fight a god. So the problem is that now you are beginning your other story, Boruto, in the shadow of this. And if you want to go, this guy's really powerful, and you start all the way down, you do have some issues. Now, the nice thing is this may not be a problem because Boruto hasn't fight. He's a kid. You can technically start him off because, again, the story is the audience will care about whatever you point them at. So if you point them at something, they're going to care about that. So basically, if you say it's really important that Boruto beats, the bully, the schoolyard bully, and that's more like this, probably in the village or something like that, or your classroom or something like that. The audience will care about it, and it'll work, and it's fine. You can make that work, even though your dad beat a god, basically. But this is just tricky because it means that if you're going to have some sort of cataclysmic event, you have to have somebody. And this is kind of the problem with a lot of shonens and stuff like that, is they do follow basically an RPG level system, more or less, where basically higher level people can't lose to lower level people. So if you had something like Samurai Champloo or something where, you could sneak up behind somebody and shoot them and then they're dead, no matter how good they are, with a gun. If you sneak up behind them or sneak up on them while they're sleeping, and then you don't have the option to have, plans within plans within plans within plans within genjutsus within genjutsu or something like that. You have this whole effect, and we'll have to see how it works. So this is the fight story. So this is the problem. So the question then is, how do you overcome this? Because a lot of sequels, the problem is that they go, yeah, we know we ended up here on the last one, but for the sake of the sequel, we're starting back at the beginning. And basically what it does is it completely retroactively destroys everything that they had worked for. One of the biggest, it used to be one of my favorite movies of all time, is National Treasure. Terrible movie, but it's great. It's a great adventure movie. It's great. So let's see, we'll move over here. So National Treasure. And of course they came out with a sequel with a god-awful movie. So basically with the National Treasure movie, you have guys here, and he moves to the end. And at the end, he gets several things. He gets the girl, so he wins the girl over. He gets the glory because he's saved the day, and he gets seemingly some gold or renown or money based on this. And Riley, his best bud, gets the car. And basically they end this, and this is kind of the happily ever after, basically. And then in the sequel, he loses the girl. He loses all of his glory because his family is shamed, and he has no money. And Riley, his buddy, loses his car. And that's how the sequel starts. Because they realize that it's tricky to start from here and go up, so what they're doing is they're just going to bring him back down to zero. They also probably didn't care because it was a terrible movie, and it seems like nobody cared about that movie. The only thing I can ever really remember about it is that Ed Harris found the treasure. He found it. No one will ever know. Oddly enough, that's the only thing I remember from that movie. So this is the problem. This is the reason why National Treasure 2 sucks compared to the first one, and why it honestly makes the first one even worse is because of this whole aspect where it basically destroys the legacy of the first one. So going back and watching the first one now, you know that he's going to lose everything. And it's just like, wow, that's kind of dumb. Like, did we not learn anything from the first one or something like that? And of course not. So that's kind of what we've got for the fight story, basically. The second thing kind of plays into this one. This one kind of depends. Is basically you have story progression and character progression. And kind of the problem with this, more or less, is we've seen Naruto grow, so it's going to be hard to see him fail. And basically, kind of the story will necessitate that Naruto fails in some way. So there's a few ways he can fail. One, he doesn't understand his son and they can't connect. That would be painful. So disconnect. He's gonna be like, Dad, you never understand me. Oh my gosh, you're such an idiot. Disconnect between father and son. It could be one, he's gone all the time. I could see this one being the most likely. Gone all the time. This could happen. But the problem is we have expectation that Naruto's not going to be a POS, basically. So the question is Naruto going to grow up to be this, basically? And this is kind of the tricky part. You can do this where it kind of is like he understands that his dad's doing it for a just cause and a good cause and everything, but then he still doesn't like it. That could work. It would be a little bit tricky, but it could work. Let me see. There we go. All right. Gone all the time. It could be that probably one of these disconnect. Basically, his son is grown up popular, so he has everything. His son has everything. And again, we have to like Boruto for this to work. And if he has everything and it's kind of hard, especially since we're not kids. Kids will be stupid, but they have to be stupid in relatable ways, because if they're just stupid in usual, regular kid stupid ways, then you're just going to dislike the kid, and then the story really is going to suffer from there. And it's going to be a problem, basically. And that's kind of the issue, the pitfalls you're going to have to work out. So a lot of stories will basically then treat and do what National Treasure does, which is basically, it's like, despite all the growth in Naruto has no idea what it's like to be a misunderstood kid, and he just runs over his son and doesn't care about his problems or anything like that. And that's like a huge issue, more or less. They can't kill Naruto, because then they just don't, I don't think they'll do that. They won't kill him. They will then have to, I don't really know what they'll have to do. It could be interesting. They could have sent, so basically this is kind of all the issues. So there's a few different options then that they could do to solve it. So you could send Boruto away. For some reason, he needs to go away to a distant village. He's going to the sand village or something. And then basically this means that his dad's far away. His dad didn't leave him. Maybe he has a really good reason for sending Boruto. Maybe it's an exchange program with the Sand Village's Hokage. So the Sand Village son of the Hokage, Gaara's son, is going to be coming and staying at the Leaf Village, and Boruto's going to go for there. I don't know why, but you could come up with a good reason why. Like, hey, it's necessary for this for whatever reason, blah, 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 blah. Or maybe it's some plan for some evil plot. Again, and you kind of need to do a reset for all the, and this also gets Naruto out of the way, which means then you can have this fight, basically, these little fights. Because again, if bandits show up here to steal the sheep, and they come up against Naruto, they're getting crushed immediately. And theoretically, Naruto has gotten even stronger, so the problem now is if Naruto ever shows up, the progression is, he's just going to immediately destroy everyone, basically. This is the power level, and then you'd have to introduce another character that's even super stronger. Basically, the power difference in anyone who went up against Naruto is going to be just astronomical. So you basically have to start at the power level where Naruto ended. So he ended with him fighting against gods, and maybe 5 years later Naruto's theoretically is even more powerful, so he should be even better than that. So that's what you kind of have to play off of and see how it goes, and it'll be tricky. So but yeah, this kind of covers my thoughts on this. I will probably do a read-through of like the first 5-10 chapters of Boruto, and see if they succeed and see kind of what they're doing. So that's it. Yeah, so that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one.